So hi, this is me, Trina Kavanagh-Thomas, for the social media switch off. This is for you business women who are just taking a little bit of time away from social media at this moment. It's not like not appreciating social media, because it's got great stuff to go for it, and it just do amazing things for so many amazing people. There's a lot of noise that's going on in the background at this moment, though, especially after a pandemic that's been going on, and some of us just don't know where to turn, what to do, how to kind of focus and just concentrate and be consistent with the things that we really want to do in life. And I have come on today for a chinwag, chit chat, chinwag, whatever you want to call it, with the most beautiful, honestly, she's just beautiful, Leona Burton. Hello. Welcome.
Wow, thank you so much. Wow, how do I follow that introduction? I have no idea. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Love our chats. I love getting to know you. You're such a light in the world. And as you said, social media is exceptionally noisy at the moment. And even people like me who have grown a good sized business on social media, being present every single day, it's really important to be able to take a step back and just breathe, because it's so loud. It's exhausting. Like, I'm an empath, and I'm like, whoa, it's just like, it's just so noisy. So I think it's exceptionally important to be able to walk away, even if for a short period of time.
Absolutely. Like when we've just had a little bit of a brief chat beforehand, and we're like singing from the same hymn sheet. And it's just so lovely to even just get to, to speak to you, because the stuff that you have done, is phenomenal. And, in such a short space of time as well, people wait a long time, sometimes 10 years to get to these kind of pinnacles that you've been at. So you've created like a massive business, you've created an even bigger one now. There's people who want to be part of that, really massive names who want to be part of that as well, what you're growing. But I tell you what really gets me is the people who underpin your business, the people, and what you do it for.
It's not about me, and that's what I remind people all the time. And you can see how it's very easy for people to lose their heads in this game and allow their ego to run a little bit wild, because as your influence grows, people want to give you lots of things, and they want to say yes to everything for you, and they want to throw money and stuff at you, and you can see how very quickly people lose their identity.
Yeah.
And I think for me, what I remind myself is consistently not to get caught up in the praise, but also not to get caught up in the trolling and the negative. Because I think if you allow yourself to get caught up in the praise, you're then emotionally attached to the feedback. And the feedback is always positive. I mean, I've had incredible feedback, don't get me wrong, but there's still times where people troll me and hate me and whatever it is that they do. And it allows me, if I don't get attached to the feedback, to have clarity in the situation, and that's really helped me stay grounded, because one thing I did commit to was always staying true to my morals, and I think every time I have a little wobble in that situation, I have surrounded myself with a good team that are like, come on, what is going on? So it isn't about me, it's about the people. And I think we live in a society, I was talking to my business strategist this morning about this, and we live in a society where we are consistently seeking approval from others, whether that's through a cult kind of relationship, or religion, or a guru, or somebody. And I'm not saying those things are bad, but what I'm saying is often we're looking for that external validation, and those things can, probably not cults, but whatever your belief system is, they can be beneficial, but also you have got to be strong within your own right. And I think it's, there's a lot of people who allow their ego to become quite, you know, in your face when they become influential online. And it's almost scary. Like, it's kind of freaky. I don't know. I find it a little bit strange. So yeah, I try and just do me. That's what I try and do, is just do me, and then be good to those around me, because, you know, that's important to me.
Absolutely. You know what? I completely agree with you on this and everything that you said. And not only that, when you come off social media in particular, it kind of throws up those feelings as well. And they're feelings to be dealt with, because that's when it then comes down to doing some inner work, you know, some work on ourselves, because it then comes down to becoming independent within ourselves. You know, can we, you know, how can we feel, you know, how can we give praise to ourselves? You know, like, I'll give you so much praise, but I'll come off here and then go to the mirror and give myself the same praise. That's you know, it might sound odd to a few people, but it's good to give yourself the same praise that you're willing to give out to someone else, because sometimes we don't do that, and we then expect it back off everyone else, rather than the person who can give it us is like
right
here.
It is crazy, and you can see how, I don't know whether you've watched the documentary The Social Dilemma. I haven't seen it all, but my children watched it as part of homeschooling, and it's how social media is addictive. It's like a high level drug. It's like a class A drug. People are living for the likes, they're living for the loves, they're living for that recognition, and they're living for that, you know, that instant fix of somebody's liked my post, somebody's commented on my post. And, you know, I've been very fortunate to grow a very large business on social media, or a very large following, but it's consistently detaching from the outcome of whatever it is that I'm saying, so that I'm not living for the ego stroke. I'm living because I want to empower and support people. But you can see how, you know, you consistently having to remind yourself in that this isn't reality. This isn't reality. And when people, you know, when people queue up outside toilet cubicles and, like, you know, stalk me and, like, take pictures.
Really?
Oh, I have had some crazy stuff, right? And yeah, like, people stop me in the middle of, while I'm eating in a restaurant, and all kinds of weird stuff in the middle of Spain, of all places. You're like, really? Like, okay. It's understanding that's not reality. It's not real. Yeah. And so when people say, oh, you're so famous, oh, like, so many people know who you are, and I'm like, regardless, at what point do you become famous, right? And I've worked in television, and I know lots of celebrities, and I was thinking about this morning. At what point do you become famous? Like, is it, how many likes is it, how many follows is it, how many, you know, what defines fame? What defines fame? Are you famous because you've got 2,000 followers? Are you famous because you've got 10,000? Is it 1 million? Like, at what point are we saying that we're famous over here? So I kind of laugh at it when people say, oh, you're so famous. I'm like, really? That's so corny. And I really don't want fame. It's not for me. Fame is, like, not what I'm going for. Impact is what I'm going for. And if fame ultimately is a byproduct of that, how I deal with that is how I deal with that. But I'm not striving for fame.
Yeah. And that's, you know, and that's really what you just said. It's a byproduct of what you're trying to do. You're trying to make an impact. And when you're trying to make an impact, it makes, you know, it will bring fame at some point, depending on how far along you go.
Right.
And I still can't believe, like, people just come up to your table and then go, can I have your autograph?
People have literally messaged me. I've been out, and this has happened several times, and I've been out at some random obscure place, and people have texted my Facebook, like, messaged me, and, like, didn't want to say hello, but I've just seen you going into the toilet of so-and-so, and I'm like, wow, that's weird. That is really weird. Okay, but whatever. I'd prefer they come say hello than like message me that they're there. They're too afraid, because I'm not a scary person. I'm not going to have security come and remove you or anything. But it's kind of very superficial, right? It's very superficial, and it's very, it's such an ego-driven world. You know, growing a business on social media, it's so full of ego, it's ridiculous. So it's very important that you take time away, that you spend time with yourself.
Absolutely.
You're reconnected with yourself and your family and your loved ones and your friends and who you are as a person and what your belief system is. And I think that's really important. And it's not the easiest thing to do, because life takes over, it gets busy, but it's like, it's got to be at the top of your agenda.
Absolutely. You know, and you have said something so key there. It's got to be at the top of your agenda. And I think, you know, at this moment, basic needs are coming into play for many people. You know, what are your basic needs in life? And you'll find that your basic needs don't include social media, but your basic needs is something completely different to that. And it is then reconnecting with your values, realigning with, you know, all your beliefs and everything, your belief system. And it then takes me on to, you know, the next question. You know, what are your beliefs? What do you believe in?
Oh gosh, I have lots of beliefs. I believe that you should always lead with integrity and authenticity. I believe that we should be kind to one another and be less judgmental, which is very difficult, again, especially when you're on social media. It's easy to get caught up in a whirlwind of, oh, but this, oh, but that, you know, but I believe this and I believe that. And I love people that are passionate and, you know, like, raw, we need those people, don't get me wrong. And people I think they're quite surprised when they meet me, because I have a reputation to be like fiery and passionate. But I'm also aware that to be able to educate more effectively, we've got to be having sensible conversations other than telling people to, you know, do one. So it's for me, it's about staying true to who you are, but also having the self-awareness to be open to listening to other people's interpretations of what the situation is about, regardless of whether it's race, religion, whatever we're all arguing about consistently. It's being comfortable in my own belief system, to be in a position where I can have a conversation with somebody who doesn't believe what I believe, but I'm so confident in that they don't affect my belief system, but I'm prepared to be open to listen to what they've got to say without feeling vulnerable or, you know, that I may sway on my belief system. And actually, you know, sometimes they educate me in a way in which I'm quite surprised. So it's not that I'm not open, but I'm secure in that. Does that make sense? I know that sounds complicated.
That totally makes sense, because, you know, being secure in your beliefs, what you believe in, is vitally important. And it's not just important to you, it's important to everyone, because everyone has different beliefs. And I think, as you were saying, you know, we're always fighting about different things, religion, or I suppose that's the one that's going to keep carrying on for heaven knows how long. But, you know, sometimes if we have, you know, these conversations with each other, well, I believe in this and I believe in that, and it's not such a massive thing, it's not a fight or anything, then people just get on a lot more than you know, than the fights that we've been seeing.
My circle of, you know, my circle, I'm so fortunate and blessed to be surrounded by people who have completely different belief systems to me. And, you know, and I find that powerful. I don't find that that's a bad thing. I find that that's powerful, because they educate me in ways that they probably don't realize, but also I'm sure that they learn things from me too. And I think, you know, it doesn't mean that I'm going to convert to their religion or whatever it is. It just means that I have a broader understanding of who's actually making up the world. I don't believe that we all need to be the same person. That's kind of weird. So I do believe that there is space for the majority of people in the world, and that we just need to be more accepting of other people. Fact, generically across the board. As long as a behaviour is not abhorrent, then I don't understand why we're all getting into wars and fights over something that makes zero sense to me. I get it from a place of, but they need to be right, but it's like, what is right and what's wrong? Right? What actually is right and what actually is wrong? Who knows? Do we actually know? I don't know. Do you know?
And that's the thing, we don't know what's right and we don't know what's wrong. All that we know is what we perceive and what we see. So even with the stuff that I teach, all that I teach is based on what I know from what I've been through, and also what I see from what my clients have been through. And there is a strong case coming out though for listening to what your body's actually saying to you. A massive case coming out for listening to what your needs are, and heeding your needs.
And I definitely lean into that now. I definitely have become so self-aware that I know when like I said to my husband this morning, I need to juice. I'm feeling really tired. I've been working 1,000,000 hours a week. I need to juice because I feel like my body needs to cleanse. I feel like I need some liquids. I feel like I just need to detox slightly. So I've become really self-aware in that, but I've also become self-aware where social media is concerned. Okay, Leona, you need to step away from social media because you're getting irritated or people are triggering you in a way that you wouldn't necessarily do. All of those sorts of things are healthy, and getting to that point is healthy because you're able to manage things more effectively. And that's what's important. It's not that you're not ever going to get triggered, but you're ahead of the game and you can understand, okay, so this is making me feel like this is making me feel like this, therefore what am I going to do because I'm feeling like this to right myself?
Yeah, wow. And for anyone who's watching this right at this moment, this is what you're saying, Leona, is so vitally true. When sometimes when you do go onto social media, you will look at something for a split second and it does trigger you, and it might even just set you off for it might trigger you, and then you're triggered for, I don't know, maybe a few hours or maybe a few days. Some people are triggered for a few days, and it can literally change the way you feel about life, and then you kind of start looking at things in a different way, because you're annoyed with everything.
Yeah, your perception is different to how it was usually. Yeah, at 1,000,000,000%. And that's why it's important to be so self-aware that you know that you're triggered. Because when you know that you're triggered, you can get ahead of that thought process, so that when it comes up, you're behaving in a certain way or speaking in a certain way, or that you're triggered because of that, and you can make decisions around how to deal with that trigger.
Absolutely.
Take time away. Actually, now is not the right time to have that meeting, because I would be going into that meeting with a swayed view of actually what's going on. So it's really important that you get ahead of that, so that you can, we're human, we're going to be triggered all the time. We're women, we're hormonal, we've got fluctuations in how we feel on a daily basis. You know what it's like, one part of the month you feel good, the next part of the month you may not, you may be like, oh God, what happened over here? So it's, it's understanding that. And now I've got to the point where when I feel like, oh God, what has happened over here? I'm like, do you know what? It's okay. It's that time of the month, or it's this trigger or that trigger, or the fact you haven't slept enough, or whatever it is. So it's just learning to go, you know what, I'm not perfect, but I can understand why I'm behaving the way I am, or why I'm feeling the way I am. And this is where coming on social media is important, because especially when you're feeling low or feeling frustrated, it's so easy to go on there and be even more frustrated or even more low. And quite recently, I've had more women that have, contacted me that are suicidal, than ever. You know, I'm not a counsellor, I'm not a coach, I am not trained in psychology in whatsoever, but I think because I have a large presence online, people feel like they can trust me and they can open up.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult for me because this is not my area of expertise, but I'm glad that they've reached out to me. So it's managing. I know that at the moment, especially with COVID, people are feeling exceptionally stressed, exceptionally triggered. We've all got different interpretations of what COVID is. We've all got different interpretations of how we should be dealing with it. You know, things are changing consistently. You don't know what from day to day what you're supposed to be doing. Legislations are changing, legalities are changing. 1 minute you can do things, next minute you can't. It's consistently triggering people all over the place. So it's understanding, okay, in this situation, how do I feel? COVID today has annoyed me. Maybe people talking about the differences of whether you should wear a mask or not is going to trigger me because I'm not in a good place to have a constructive conversation in how I feel. It's not about not having those conversations, because sometimes those conversations are needed, but it's understanding whether you have the ability and the mental capacity in that moment to handle that level of conversation, or whether you need tea and you need 5 minutes, you know, and sometimes that's what you need, or coffee.
But the thing is, you know, that then comes back down to your basic needs. It comes all the way back down to your basic needs again. You know, as we were just saying, you know, about, you know, especially when it comes to COVID and stuff, there are a lot of women out there, myself included, that, you know, that didn't realize that you may have been holding on to a lot of stuff underneath because you're holding everything together on the outside. So it's almost like that duck on top of the water, sitting on top of the water, and you know, you can see them looking quite serene, but their legs are like that underneath because they're trying to keep everything together. You know, I think this is, you know, it is a conversation to be had. You know, it's very sad to hear that women are thinking, you know, of suicide. You know, there's a lot of control going on at the moment, and sometimes, you know, when we feel like we're under control by someone else, sometimes it's very difficult to be able to take control ourselves. And that can also bring up feelings of, you know, quite low feelings, quite low times for people, and feelings of not wanting to be here anymore, feelings of not wanting to live anymore because everything's not in our control anymore. And that can sometimes bring up really deep feelings for many, many people. And I'm talking from experience here as well. From being in that kind of situation, because I was truly out of control. And when you feel like when you're in that position, sometimes you feel like the only way is out. And that's sad. That's sad. You know, it's sad. And I mean, you're getting these messages. So how did these messages affect you?
Oh, massively. You know, and that's the thing. It's extremely difficult for me, and I think because, you know, half of the women I don't actually even know, which it was really, really tough when they first started. And I had an exceptionally difficult call a couple of weeks ago. It was very, very early in the morning, and it was a weekend, and typically I try to have Saturday with my children, and it just, you know, for the whole of the weekend I was like worried and, you know, concerned about this lady. And then I knew that it wasn't my responsibility, but, you know, you're consistently thinking, what could I do? Could I do anything more? So it isn't easy, and it's not, you know, it's not something I'm trained for. And actually yesterday, myself and my core team, we had the first part of our mental health first aid training, which we'd actually already got booked in before all of this started. But I felt like it was really important to be able to signpost people effectively and speak to them in a way in which wasn't going to trigger them further. And, you know, some of them literally are on the side of a bridge when they're calling me. You know, it's not like I'm thinking about, you know, I'm having this thought of, it's like, this is a done deal, this is what's going to happen. And you're like, oh Lord, like this is not fun. So, it's an increasing problem. And I think part of it's social media. Part of social media is incredible and can be amazing, right? It's led me to do the most incredible things. But it also can amplify hurt, can amplify low mood, it can amplify all of the things that we feel and make those things worse. So it really is an important conversation to be having of how are we feeling in this moment? What should we be doing for ourselves? Should we be on here? Should we be not? Should we be looking at, a happy family? I've got lots of followers that don't have a 2.4 family. Like majority of people very rarely now have a 2.4. But when they see that, that's a trigger for them. And I say to people, just don't follow people that you're triggered by. Don't feel like you have to engage or get involved in something. But it's not easy. It's not easy, and it can be difficult because it's addictive. It's actually addictive. So
absolutely. And I don't know about you, do you feel it runs into people pleasing as well on there? Because that really kind of stops people from doing the things that they want to do. You just mentioned about don't follow people that you're triggered by, because if you're triggered by something and it is making you feel rubbish, or it's making you feel extremely low, especially as we mentioned before, near your period for one place, it's then gonna set off something within you that's then gonna make you feel even more lower.
Right.
It's okay to quieten them down, including myself. So
right. And that's what I say to people. If I trigger you, unfollow me. Like, please don't feel that you have to remain connected with me if I'm a trigger for you. So it's not, it's not, you've got to be a little bit selfish sometimes. You've got to, do what works best for you, because that's important. That's really
important. Absolutely. It's that what, I do feel like this needs to be discussed though. Periods. I don't know why it's coming up, but definitely periods, because I don't know about you, but we hear about it a lot. Well, we don't hear about it a lot, to be fair. And I definitely know in the science world they don't really mention it a lot, especially when it comes to like health and wellness. But it does need mentioning. People go through those peaks and troughs, different times of the month. One part of the month you're like flying in your business, and then another part of the month you're like almost could like just cry and go, I don't even know why I'm doing this.
I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to do this anymore. I could literally shut this down tomorrow. That type of thing, because your emotions are just like kind of, it's so difficult to, and I don't know whether this is a conversation to be had as well. Maybe you need to come on another time, but it'd be great to have a conversation on, just letting go of control.
I mean, all of it, like, periods, like going back to periods, right? Periods are a nightmare. I suffer with endometriosis. I have a high level of one of the chemicals, I can never remember which, a very high level of them. And it causes me to kind of have these very, very highs and very, very lows in my mood. I suffer with a lot of pain. I'm in consistent pain with my back and my hips and then my ovaries. Then I put on weight easily. Then I can't exercise as well. And then it's like a vicious. So it's trying to manage that on top of, the emotional stuff that comes with it, and, just how you're actually feeling. Sometimes it makes me exceptionally tired. Like the few days before my period, I'm like, I'm just so tired, I can't see. And then I really hate taking painkillers, but I have to take very strong painkillers, which means then I'm like a walking zombie. And as a CEO, it's like the zombie is not a good place to be. So it's very difficult. So it's also learning your body and learning how Like, at what point is what going to happen? And okay, so I know that I need to plan for that. I know I need to plan for like 3 days where nobody needs to talk to me, because you're not going to get any sense out of me. I also get very bad brain fog. Apparently it's a side effect of endometriosis. But I keep talking to me, I'm like, I have zero understanding of what they're saying. I'm quite highly educated, and I'm like, no, it's just not going. No, like, it could be the most simple of things. And my husband's like, do you want chicken or beef for dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know. Don't ask me any questions. Right? Just don't ask me any. Just feed me, okay? Just feed me. We'll all be safe. So it's that, right? That's the reality of the situation. And then control is a whole nother conversation in itself, where it's really, really difficult when you're a perfectionist, or when you want things done a certain way. Or, it's not just control of other people, it's control of yourself. It's having that high expectation of what your expectation is of you, which is like crazy. Like, I mean, I'm a ball buster, right? I'm like, I want this, I know that, and my expectation of myself was so high, consistently all the time. I was exhausted. It's like, this is not good enough, this is not good enough, oh no, you've got to retake that, you did this, and now I'm like, oh, do you know what, I don't even care. I actually thought, before being here, I really should brush my hair, and I really should sort my face out. And then I was like, do you know what? I can't be bothered, because I've got this to do, and I've got this to do, and I haven't eaten, so I was like shoving crab sticks in my face at the same time I was trying to drink. It's like 30 degrees here. I'm like, do you know what? That actually doesn't matter, Leona, it's fine. But it's a consistent conversation with yourself. It's not something that you just like, okay, so I'm fixed. Nobody's fixed. Everyone's just like trying to get through life.
And the thing is, I think, so I've said this many times, there is nothing wrong with anyone. There's nothing wrong with anyone. If anyone's watching this right now, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Media would like to have you think, or other places would like to have you think there's something wrong with you, but there's nothing wrong with you. It's just part and parcel of being a human being.
Right. It's actually crazy. It's really funny, because I took my, she's now 13. My 13-year-old daughter shopping the other day, and she's always been dead skinny, like skinny little tiny thing, and then all of a sudden she got these boobs and bum out of nowhere.
Oh.
Like, I took her shopping, and she was like, it's so annoying. I was like, welcome to womanhood. Like, she's like, a size 10 pair of jeans, she can't even get them over her feet. Like, was big enough for her feet, and then she could get the jeans on, but they were too tight on her hips, and then if they fit the hips, they didn't fit the waist, and I was like, yeah, see what we have to deal with, right? So it's just evolutionary, right? That's life, isn't it? It's evolutionary. We're learning as we go. It's all good.
It is. I think we learn as we go. We're able to make mistakes. It's okay to make a mistake. I think there's a lot of punishment around that, isn't there? But it's so nice for you to talk about periods and, and endometriosis, for one, because it is a big thing to many women. Yes.
Like, do you know how many women I have had message me like, oh, I'm so glad you're talking about it. I live like 3/4 of the month in pain, and I can't do this, and I can't do this, and some women have it horrifically, and I'm, it's madness. And I said to my dad the other day, I was like, I really need a hysterectomy, but I don't have time to take 6 weeks off work. Like, go figure. So he's like, no, you need to have a hysterectomy. You need to make sure that you've got work set up so that you can have your hysterectomy, Leona, so that you're no longer in pain, because that should be priority. I'm like, I just don't have time to have 6 weeks off now. He's like, that's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Like, I know, but I've got to make myself a priority. It's just, it's managing everything. I'm a mum of 5. I've got a busy business. Trying to do all of it is sometimes an impossible task. People say, oh, you manage so effectively. I'm like, I am a hot mess 24/7. And I'm
just trying to do
I don't even feel bad about it. It's like, it is what it is, and I'm just get through.
And the thing is, it's almost like flying by the seat of your pants sometimes. It's like when I said to you, I sent you a message and I went, I'm going incognito. and when I go incognito, that means I'm gonna like just literally come off social media. I might just quickly nip in to like message you like today just to confirm. But besides that, it's got to go, because for me, because I know it'll get into here, and then I don't do the things that I really want to do effectively and show up effectively. And you know what? It's been amazing talking to you today.
Thank you for having me.
You know what? We need to chat again. We need to have this conversation again, because I sense that there is a bigger conversation to be had from this.
Always.
Conversation to be had from this. Thank you so much. If you're just tuning in at the end, then just to say that Leona has just been amazing. We've spoken about endometriosis, periods, we've spoken about business, we've spoken about social media, we've spoken about control, we've spoken about as well messages about suicide and stuff. We've spoken about what's been going on in the pandemic. We've spoken about like loads today.
We've been all over the place today.
I tell you what, talk about having a chin wag. It's a proper chin wag.
Yeah,
that's a proper chin wag.
So good.
That's proper chin wag. So this is going to go out on Friday, 12:30. We're here every week. So every week I'm going to have like someone new on, and we're going to talk about something different every week, just to enable you to feel okay in yourself when you take some time away from social media. And that's okay to do so, and it's okay to be on it as well. So there's nothing wrong with you. Thank you so much for coming on.